such a wonderful, warm reception and welcome. I mean, it really is touching to my heart and my spirit, so thank you. And if we ever doubt that we are a blessing to the world, I want us to get a grip and realize that we are such a blessing to the world. There is such a need for unity and for its teaching. So I just want to encourage you this morning to stay strong. So the spiritual life can be described in so many different ways, and we use many different metaphors and analogies and paradigms. And one that we often use is that it's a journey. And when I went on my sabbatical, that was kind of the paradigm that I initially started out with, that it was a journey. And so, of course, with a journey, there's always the beginning, and then there's some destination out there in the future, the end, and then there's a path that takes us there. And usually the idea is that it's a path with challenges in the spiritual life. There's going to be ups and downs, and bends, and getting lost, and rediscovering the trail. And built into that is, in a sense, an idea of separation from our core, or from our true self. And that's a fallacy. That's really not true. Because the journey of the soul is from here to here, not from here to there. You never really go anywhere. You're always in the place of the soul, aren't you? And yet we have this great ability to make it challenging and difficult and seem somehow that it's some separation that we're trying to heal, that we're trying to restore or bind up again. As if there's this original energy that we started out with way, way long time ago, and that somehow coming into human form separated us out from this energy. And so then we spend all this time on the journey trying to feel like we're connected once again with this original energy. So we have a journey of overcoming, which can get very tiresome and very old fast. And such a journey is really lacking in our total goodness, isn't it? We're not enjoying it. We're not celebrating it. We're in a feeling of being without it. And this idea surfaced for me. I had gone the first week, if you remember, to the conference or convention in Kansas City. And so by the time I got to New Mexico to begin my sabbatical officially, I was already in this frame of mind. Okay, I'm going to spend this time thinking about my life, and I'm going to figure out what's wrong, and I'm going to finally fix whatever the hell is wrong with me. But fortunately, the universe had other ideas, and part of the plan was that Scott Wenzel, over here, and John Eby would join me in New Mexico for a few days as we went out to Christ in the Desert Monastery, beautiful, incredible place, 17 miles down a dirt road, and that we would go to the vortex that is associated with Shanti Christo and the book, The Way of Mastery. And so this was like a little pilgrimage that we were having. And the interesting thing was that these two places were about 10 miles apart as the crow flies, maybe about 20 by road. And Scott said that he was on a kind of a vision quest. And so we got there out in the middle of the desert in this canyon. It's hot, it's getting hotter by the minute. And he's saying, you know, I don't know how long this is going to take, but however long it takes, you guys are just going to have to hang with me. So we kind of went off in different directions. in the space to have our own experience. And about 15 minutes later, we hear this trumping back towards us, and we're thinking, mountain lion? No, it was Scott. And he's like, okay, I'm done. We were like, thank God. So he said, well, I got what I needed to hear. I got the message. And he said, it was the same message that I got 10 years ago, and I didn't need to come here. And the message was that there is no thing wrong. There's nothing wrong. And I know that this can drive our egos crazy. This just drives our rational mind crazy. Say that to some of your friends and see the look that you'll get, right? There's no thing wrong. Because, I'm saying, well, there's a lot wrong with me, and most of us say that. Well, there's this, and there's that, and the other, and if you only knew. And don't even get me going on the world. I mean, everything is wrong, right? It's just a whole lot of stuff that's wrong. And that statement of there's nothing wrong is right up there with all is well. Another statement that can make you crazy. But Scott's wonderful, inspired insight really hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I changed my whole perspective on my sabbatical. After I came back from New Mexico, I had a few days here, and then I went to Mexico. And I got on the plane to Mexico to celebrate my life, to enjoy my life, and to just know that everything is fine, all is well. There is nothing wrong. And thank God then I was spared of all that navel gazing and wasting all that time, trying to figure out what's wrong, what's the solution. Because the reality is that all of this external stuff doesn't touch the essence of who we are. Ups and downs, ins and outs, failures, success, none of that touches the essence of who we really are. And so that's the energy that I'm sure that Jesus lived from. That this was heaven on earth. That there was a whole different perspective that could be had than everything is wrong and needs to be fixed and I must fix it, to being in this much deeper place of knowing one's own completeness and wholeness, sacredness and holiness. Recently I was listening to one of my favorite teachers, and he proposed something very different. And that is that what we're experiencing right now is like a movie that is already in the can. The end, as we know, is already assured, and we're just in time and space playing out the movie just to see what actually happened. Oh, what choice did I make there? Oh, did I learn? Oh, yeah, I learned. And then I made a different choice. He said, what if this actually is your life review? How would that change things? Would that free things up for us to have a different way of being in the world, a different presence, more lighter? Because we're just looking at a movie of what happened. And the ending is great, the ending is fine, you're going to be fine. You are fine right now. Because we are in a place of heaven and earth, not just earth. And so this is the one eye. It's not the two eyes, which is duality. It's this great ability to step into a place of one-eyedness, And that's what we're being asked to do as we look at our lives and as we look at the world. Not to get confused, not to get double vision, if you will. And what it calls us to is miracle-mindedness. To be open to incredible possibilities when our minds are saying, no, that couldn't work. And one little example of something that happened to me on the trip, I had a map of Galicia, and I was with my sister Helen, my niece, and you know, you have bags and coats, and I had a map, and all of a sudden we were walking along, well, no map. I don't know what I did with the map, you know? I was like, I don't want to go back to the car. And so I said, okay, we'll manage. And we walked around the corner, and lying on the ground was a map of the city. And I immediately thought of you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I said, that's all that praying and beautiful energy that's being sent my way. And that's one of the more dramatic little examples. But I had many examples of things like that, just sort of turning on a dime and, you know, working out beautifully. So what we are being encouraged to do is to go back to that original energy and to realize that the original energy has never changed. Despite all of our journeying, it's gone nowhere. The original energy can't change. It is eternal. It's infinite. It's divine. And that's who we are. And the way to discover that is in the present moment. That's the doorway. Like whether I'm here with you, whether I'm on a plane at 30,000 feet, whether I'm in Santiago de Compostela in Spain, or whether I'm at home in Ireland, in my sister's house, or whether I'm with my friends in Gran Canaria in Spain, it's always the same experience. And one of the things that struck me when I was finished with the trip was I didn't have this sense of like peak experiences. Oh my God, that was so fantastic. Someone asked me, well, what was the highlight of the trip? And I was kind of shocked that I couldn't really come up with something until I was writing this and I realized, oh, the reason was because I was having such a good experience all the time. I was appreciating who it was that was in front of me and who it was that was having this experience in this situation, in this form. That it was this rich, continuous experience, not one with sort of highs and lows. And even when I was getting on the plane in Madrid to come back, you know, I had that moment of, oh shoot, it's over, you know. And then I thought, no, we're not going there. And again, just stepping back into that realization that at any given moment, I can have a rich experience of who I am, of experiencing who I am and discovering who I am, and who everybody else is as well. One of the funny experiences that I'll share was with my sister Helen and my niece Maeve. We were in the cathedral at Santiago de Compostela. And I know Sandy was just there last year. So we knew the weather was not going to be good, so we decided we would go to the cathedral that day. We just didn't realize how bad it was going to be. We might as well have been on the cliffs of Moher on the west of Ireland because it lashed rain. And we really weren't prepared. We weren't expecting that kind of rain. So we were standing in the rain. There was like 100 people going into the cathedral. We get into the cathedral. It is mobbed. It's like Grand Central Station. They're doing construction. You can't really see anything. It was a mess. So if you've ever been in one of these cathedrals, you know, there's a big aisle down the center. There's an aisle over at the side, an aisle over at the side, and then that kind of goes around the back of the altar, and there's a wooden, big, high wooden reredos or whatever, an altar, and all the rest. So my sister and I were walking along that aisle. We got like around the side a bit, and we kind of looked, and there was a doorway, and it was marble, and then over it said the tomb of St. James. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And so my sister and I looked at each other, and we thought, okay. So we went down about 15 steps. Do we have a slide? I think we may actually have a slide. So when you're down there, you're looking through this grill, and there in the back is a little box, a marble box with the bones, I guess, of St. James. So there were 6 or 7 people there. Everybody's praying. It's a very special moment. It's kind of like the end of the pilgrimage for those who've walked. So my sister and I spent some time. We came back up the stairs, and then we started walking further back, only to discover that there were several hundred people in line waiting to go around the other side and go down the entrance. We had gone down the exit in total innocence. There was no sign saying no entry or whatever. Well, what happened was, sitting there, there's a security person who's normally there who had gone around to the other side. I said, "Thank you, universe." Because we would have been in line for about an hour at least, if not more. But what struck me about that was that, you know, you can be in the moment. You can be just present to what is, and you can go with that and let the universe lead you. And you can have a very easy experience. It doesn't have to be the long struggle, standing in line, waiting. It was a very serendipitous moment. Wow. So in the ancient Aramaic language, there's a word called wash waklan, which is used in the Our Father, because the original scripture was written in Aramaic. And that word talks about to be born again. And it's also translated as forgiveness. And what that word is really trying to get us to understand is that in every moment we are being asked to return to the original energy, to our innocence. And that if we can be in the present moment in an innocent, open way, that it will be a beautiful experience. What prevents us from having a heaven on earth experience, a miraculous experience, is that we have accumulated all of these ideas and judgments and energies that we are so hooked and invested into. We've been snagged. I don't know if you've ever picked blackberries and gotten into the bushes, and all of a sudden it's like you're stuck. You can't move one way or the other because the briars have got you. Well, that's what life kind of does to us. And we're asked then to simply relax, let go, and get unsnagged. And the word for truth in Aramaic is actually to get unstuck. To go back into the truth of who we are, to untangle ourselves, to get unstuck. And I don't know if you remember, but back in June when you blessed me away, the song that we played was Let Go of the Shore. That was to be my theme song for my sabbatical. And I played it, I would say, 90% of the days. Some days I kind of forgot. Then other days I would play it a couple times. And I certainly have played it 100 times in the last 3 months. And the words say things like, there's no need to plan. Your heart will be your compass. Trust in faith, like a sail, it will take you, you will arrive. Float in the mystery. You know, all of that is encouraging us to be unstuck, not to be hooked by all of these ideas and our baggage that we're carrying and the hurts and all of that stuff. And it struck me that the real meditation time, because again, you know, oh, I'm going to do meditations in the morning, yeah. The real meditation was simply being in the present moment, being open to the present moment, and appreciating it and recognizing it for who and what it was. It was having my eyes wide open, so it was an eyes open meditation, and it was a walking meditation, and a sitting meditation, and an eating meditation mainly. But and so the journey, if you want to call it that, is really all about being reborn in each moment, back to the original being, the original essence, and being aware of that, and not getting hooked into something else. And that's what we would call the Christ experience. The Christ consciousness is the consciousness that has never gotten sidetracked, that is still in this moment so aware of its origins, of the power of that original energy. It is that energy that always brings love and faith and hope and positivity to whatever is going on. That as we look out at what seems crazy and whatever else, that there is this other knowing that is within us. And that's really all this journey of life is about. That's what we're asked in any moment, is to go back to the originating energy of the mind. And so next week, we will start our fall program. And you know me, each week, each year, I get so excited about the book. Well, this year, it's like I can hardly contain myself, like you were saying. This is an amazing book, The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. And what it is talking about, what it is teaching, is exactly what I'm just talking about here. How do we do this? What are the obstacles? He just explores this so well and lays it out there for all of us. So I'm hoping that you will join in this 9-week program this year, and that you will read the book. We have the book, of course, in the bookstore. And that you will join a group. We have, I presume, sign-ups over there for groups. Yep. And be part of this exploration together of who and what we truly are. What is this original energy that is untouched by all of this craziness and all of the stuff that we get into? And how can we as a community unhook ourselves even more and embody this wonderful, loving energy that the world needs so much? Amen.